So instead of buying a car, a customer or consumer has the option to lease a car. Leasing a car is essentially a long-term rental agreement. With leasing a car, the residual value, the estimated value of the car at the end of the lease, becomes an important factor. Although car leases are very complicated, there are essentially two different types of leasing agreements. First type is the closed-end lease. It is when a person makes a fixed payment based upon the estimated use of the vehicle. At the end of the lease, when the car is returned, the customer has to pay for mileage in excess of the estimated use on the lease. Second type is an open-end lease, whereas when a person makes a fixed payment based on the car's residual value. At the end of the lease, the customer must make payment on the difference between the residual value and the actual appraised value if the appraised value is lower than the residual value. Otherwise, the customer owes nothing and may even receive a refund. Alright, even though I'm not a fan of leasing myself, there are some advantages. The monthly lease payments are usually much lower than the monthly payments for buying a new car. The consumer therefore leases a more expensive car than he or she could buy. Often, little or no down payments required when leasing. At the end of the lease, the consumer returns the car to the dealership, doesn't have to worry about selling the car. And the person who leases is always driving a late model car that is still under the manufacturer's warranty. Now here are the drawbacks. The customer does not own the car at the end of the lease. The financing charges are typically higher for leasing a car, so that the customer pays more than the equivalent loan amount for a car purchase. Car must be obtained in pristine condition. Any dent, dings, or other damage will be costly at the end of the lease. Lease contracts limit the number of miles driven to 12 to 15,000 miles per year. Any mileage above that will cost the customer between 10 cents to 25 cents per mile. However, there is no credit for unused mileage. If the person ends a lease early, there are high termination fees and penalties that have to be paid. And the person cannot customize the car in any permanent way. And finally, when mileage and other expenses are taken into account at the end of the lease, the car is typically higher than financing a car. Now, next we're going to talk about different types of insurance. Car insurance is an important component of owning or leasing a car. Insurance protects against unexpected loss, and there are two types of insurance. Type 1 is liability insurance. It is required in just about every state. This insurance protects against damage a driver does to other people while operating the vehicle. And there's two components to liability. There's the bodily injury liability, which covers the expense of a lawsuit if someone is injured or killed in an accident where the driver is at fault. And then property damage liability covers the damage to the other people's property, including other cars, for the negligent operation of the vehicle. Again, this type of insurance is not optional in most states. Type 2 is called collision and comprehensive insurance. It is optional in most states. If a person is financing or leasing a car, then it's required by the financing institution. This insurance protects against damage to the vehicle itself. And again, there's two components, collision and comprehensive. Collision pays for the damage or loss of the vehicle in an accident where the driver at fault or the other driver did not have insurance. Comprehensive pays for damage of lost vehicle due to things like fire, theft, acts of nature like hail we had several years ago, so on and so forth. Yeah, when we had that hailstorm several years ago, back in 2016, there were quite a few people who had comprehensive coverage, but they didn't have gap insurance, which meant that if they bought a car and owed $30,000 on it, they got hail damage. The insurance company said, oh, it was worth $20,000. They paid $20,000 of the $30,000, person's without a car and they still owe the finance company $10,000. Alright, so buy new versus used. Most of the car's depreciation occurs in the first couple years of ownership. Just driving a new car off the lot can depreciate its value by a couple thousands of dollars. Sometimes buying a 2 or 3-year-old vehicle can be a very attractive alternative. Consider the cost of 2 cars in the next example whose prices were from Kelley Blue Book. So this is workbook problem number 2. So we're on page 120. And we're looking here, a customer is choosing between 2 cars to purchase. One is a brand new Ford Fusion costing $23,100, and the other is a 3-year-old Ford Fusion with 38,000 miles on costing $15,900. Either one can be financed with a 4-year loan at 6.25%. So the question is, what is the difference between the monthly payments? Alright, so we're going to pick out our formula. So the only thing that's changing in this problem between these two is the cost. Everything else has changed. So let's go with the brand new one first. So we're going to put $23,100. Interest rate, we're going to write that as 0.0625. It's monthly, so N would be 12. And then we're going to have 1 minus 1 plus 0.0625 over 12 raised to negative 12 times, and we were doing this for how many years? Let's see, 3-year loan. Now when we do the used card, everything's going to be the same except the principal. So on our calculator, the only thing we're going to need to change is the principal. Alright, so let me slide this up some. Alright, so let's go ahead and do the new one first. So I'll pull up the calculator, clear my screen, fraction key, 23,100. And then we're going to do parentheses, fraction key, 0.0625 over 12, right arrow, close the parentheses, hop down the bottom, 1 minus, parentheses, 1 plus, fraction key, 0.0625 over 12, right arrow, close it off, caret key, negative 12, parentheses 3, close off the parentheses. So I'm going to hit enter. And that would be, I'm sorry, these are supposed to be 4-year loans, right? Yep, that's my bad. I thought that was a little high. I was looking at this 3 here, and these are supposed to be 4-year loans, but that's okay, because this is going to allow us to illustrate something. So I made a mistake here. I should have put 4 here. You might be thinking, oh gosh, we gotta type that whole thing again? The answer is no. We don't need to type that all again, because here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go grab what I just entered in and hit enter. I'm going to change that 3 to a 4. So that's something important, that if you realize, oh, I made a mistake, I put a wrong number, you don't have to re-enter the whole thing. You can hit your up arrow until you have that problem that you entered before, highlight, hit enter, and then arrow over and change the number you need to. Alright, so our monthly payment would be $545.16. Now, on the used car, the only thing I'm changing is that number there. So again, I don't want to enter all that in. I'm going to go up here and grab my formula. Now I've got some arrowing over to do, so it's going to take me a little bit to get over to it. But now I'm just going to change that 23,100 to 15,900. Hit enter. So it'd be $375.24. So the difference in the car payments then, so here are two numbers we're going to subtract. We're going to subtract to $545.16 minus $375.24. So just go ahead and do that subtraction. Hit enter. So the person would save almost $170 per month by going with the 3-year-old car.